Schöneberg is a district in central Berlin. It's home to people from many different backgrounds. Around 50% of people here were born outside Germany, and they're getting older. Turkish immigrants who moved to Berlin as guest workers 40 years ago have reached retirement age. But how will they spend their autumn years? Even in a large city like Berlin, leisure and social services for this special group are thin on the ground. But Huzur is an exception. Run by Gülsen Aktaş, it's a place where retired people with immigrant backgrounds can meet and get support. Gülsen's mother came to Germany as a guest worker. With a degree in political science, Gülsen knows politicians never planned for the retirement of these guest workers. As Gülsen explains, migrants were always seen as a temporary phenomenon by the political establishment in Germany. They were never expected to spend their retirement years here, and many of the migrants themselves expected to return home. But that's not how it turned out.
Aber das hat sich nicht so verlaufen, wie sie sich gewünscht haben.
Those people stayed in Germany and grew older. The idyllic image of a large Turkish family, with the younger generations caring lovingly for their elderly parents, does not always reflect reality. There are often tensions between parents and their children.
Viele Kinder wurden nicht hier geboren.
Gülsen explains that many second-generation immigrants were left in their home countries while their parents got settled in Germany. They came later at the age of 8, 10, or even 15, so they were estranged from their parents. And that, she says, puts a strain on relationships later in life. Selbi Cengiz is one of those who can't rely on a family support network. Now 68, she came to Germany more than 40 years ago to work in the garment industry. On a trip to Turkey, she married, and her husband moved to Germany. They had 2 children together. She says her marriage was hell. Her husband would wake up early and leave the house without saying when he'd be back. If the children asked for something, instead of answering, he would just hit them. She says she tried to comfort the children, but her husband was an alcoholic and a gambler. When he came home, she says, he stank of raki. She found him disgusting. When Selbi Cengiz could stand it no more, she left her husband. Children took their father's side and broke off all contact with their mother. The saddest thing for Selbi is that she doesn't get to see her grandchildren. She says her grandson gave her this branch one day at the playground and said, "This is for you to take home, Grandma." He was 4 years old. That's the last time she saw him. She's treasured it ever since. Today, Selbi lives alone without her family in a one-room apartment in this huge social housing block in Berlin. In the mid-90s, she suffered severe depression and had to be treated in the hospital. She found art therapy helped her come to terms with her sadness. She shows me a statue she made at the time with tears on its face. She says the medical staff used to ask her if she cried when she was alone. She told them she cried all the time. Selbi has found a support network at Huzur, and that's helped her get over her depression. She likes cooking together with the other women once a week. Many of the women at Huzur are widows, and it was not until their husbands died that they were able to take charge of their own lives. Gülsen Aktaş says she often sees a kind of burst of liberation among Turkish or Kurdish women once they're widowed. They no longer have to ask permission to go out, to go shopping. They can do what they want when they want, and they enjoy that freedom a lot.
Schub genießen sie regelrecht.
Selby Cengiz was brave enough to leave her abusive husband. Many do not have that courage, although their home life can be unbearable.
Und viele freuen sich, ach, Gott sei Dank ist
Gürzen says many of these women are overjoyed when their husbands die. She hears phrases like, "Thank God he's finally dead." And many who are still stuck in marriages with difficult husbands say they can't wait to be widowed. Emancipation in old age. Huzur is a place where pensioners can make the most of this time of their lives. There's a lot to offer. Women learn how to run their own lives or simply try out new things like using computers and surfing the internet. We meet Irina Tunina. She's from Ukraine and has lived in Germany since 1990. Now 73, she says she enjoys her freedom. And although she still finds some things difficult, learning to use a computer and the internet has opened up new vistas for her. Irina explains how she can now use the computer to keep in touch with her daughter who lives in Ukraine and her grandchildren there using Skype. She also uses the computer to Skype with her granddaughter in Hamburg and her great-grandchildren there. She loves being able to see them when they Skype. She says older people need to be more open to the interesting times they're living in. Huzur is a Turkish word meaning peace of mind. In recent years, Huzur has also opened up to elderly people from other ethnic backgrounds, and now it's truly multicultural. Gülsen says it was one of the center's aims to reach out to seniors of all nationalities, whether they're from Germany, Spain, Russia, Turkey, Kurdistan, or Arab countries. Promoting interaction among older people from different countries, cultures, and religious backgrounds is one aspect of Huzur's work. Gülsen has often organized visits to Berlin's Jewish Museum. She says elderly people with migrant backgrounds are not immune to racism and anti-Semitism. She says she's even noticed a rise in anti-Semitism in recent years. But this group from Huzur is fascinated by the insights into Jewish life that they gain here. Gülsen remembers one of the first visits she organized with the group when the mood was very different. She recalls how one Turkish woman suddenly started shouting and railing against Jews. She says the woman was shouting anti-Semitic insults, but that was in the past, and this group is interested in learning about parallels between their life stories and those of Jews in exile, forced to leave the country they were born in and where they grew up for a different, unknown land. The Muslim women in this group are surprised and interested to learn about the similarities between the Jewish and Muslim faiths, especially in rules about diet. Of course, a visit to the Jewish Museum brings up the issue of the Holocaust. And for the Turkish members of the group, that brings to mind a difficult time in their own national history. Gülsen says she tries to help people see that this is not an issue specific to Germany's history, but the Ottomans, the Turkish Empire, also has a stain on its history, the murder of Armenians in 1915. But she says Turkish people often don't want to talk about that episode in history. A visit to the Jewish Museum can help break down those barriers and get people from different backgrounds talking to each other. Gülsen Aktaş says the Turkish women in the group were interested to find out how one group of human beings could have done such a thing to another group of human beings. Since understanding one another means speaking to each other, Huzur offers language classes for seniors. Many have spent decades living in Germany, but speak only a few words of German. Selby Cengiz was able to get by at work by learning a few tailoring terms. Turkish was always spoken at home. Learning German is a way of gaining more freedom. But Gülsen also teaches Turkish here. She says the courses began due to popular demand among the women at the center. Increasing numbers of people with no immigration background are interested in learning Turkish, as Helge Grau explains. Since Helge has many Turkish neighbors, she often hears them speaking Turkish to each other. So she says she wants at least a little knowledge of the language. Irina Tonino also enjoys attending the Turkish lessons. Irina says that, having learned German, she really likes the feeling of being able to communicate with people in Germany. Now that she's learning Turkish, she says, she can get the same feeling when she speaks with Turkish people. Helge Grau has a simple way of describing Huzur. It's just so typical of Berlin, she says. It's great with all these different cultures here. Huzur is funded with public money, and Gülsen Aktaş received recognition of her work when she was awarded an Order of Merit medal from Berlin's city government 3 years ago. She helps these retirees manage their daily lives and brings people of different backgrounds together. She says the center's tango course is a good place for that. Gülsen Aktaş says she hopes there'll be far more places like Huzur in the future as the German and immigrant populations age together.